Jack Winters watched the sunset from his porch, a cold beer in his hand. The quiet neighborhood of Lakeside looked peaceful as always. Children played in yards, and neighbors waved as they walked their dogs. No one here knew what Jack used to be. 10 years in the military. 5 of those in a program that didn't officially exist. His body didn't look different on the outside, but inside, Jack was changed. Faster, stronger, almost impossible to kill. The perfect soldier, they said. Now he was just Dad. Dad, can I go to Kelly's tonight for the study group? Lily asked, poking her head through the screen door. At 16, she had her mother's eyes and smile. After losing his wife Beth to cancer 3 years ago, Lily was his whole world. Back by 11, Jack said, I'm leaving for my hunting trip with Uncle Rick tomorrow at dawn, remember? Lily rolled her eyes. I know. You've reminded me like 5 times. Jack smiled. That's my job. He didn't actually hunt anymore. Too many memories of stalking human targets, but a weekend in the woods with his old army buddy was the only time he allowed himself to remember who he used to be. Love you, Dad, Lily said, grabbing her backpack. Love you too, kiddo. Jack watched her walk down the street, unaware it would be the last time he'd see her smile for a long time. The hunting cabin was simple but comfortable. Jack and Rick sat by the fire, trading stories and avoiding the classified ones. Ever miss it? Rick asked. The power, the purpose. Jack stared into his whiskey. Sometimes, but the price was too high. Rick nodded. They both knew what Project Achilles had cost its soldiers. Some paid with their sanity, others with their humanity. Jack had been lucky to walk away at all. The phone call came at 3:17 a.m. Mr. Winters, this is Officer Daniels from Lakeside PD. There's been an incident. You need to come home. Jack was already packing before the call ended. The Winters house was surrounded by police cars, their lights painting the neighborhood in red and blue. A crowd of neighbors stood behind yellow tape. Jack parked his truck and ran to the house, ignoring the officers who tried to stop him. Inside, he found Sheriff Mills and 2 men in dark suits. Where's Lily? Jack demanded. Sheriff Mills looked uncomfortable. Jack, these men are from the FBI. They're investigating what happened. What happened? Jack's voice was deadly calm. One of the men stepped forward. Mr. Winters, I'm Agent Peters. Last night, there were multiple reports of unusual lights over Lakeside. 17 teenagers are currently unaccounted for. Your daughter is among them. Unaccounted for, Jack repeated. You mean missing. We're treating this as a mass kidnapping, the other agent said. But there are unusual aspects to the case. Jack looked around the living room. Nothing was disturbed. No signs of forced entry. No struggle. Show me her room, Jack said. Upstairs, Lily's room was exactly as a teenage girl would leave it. Clothes on the floor, homework on the desk. But Jack noticed what the others might miss. The slight burn mark on the windowsill. The faint smell of ozone. The way the air felt wrong. You know what this is, Jack said to the agents. It wasn't a question. The agents exchanged looks. Mr. Winters, we understand you have a military background, but this is a federal investigation. We'll need you to... Cut the crap, Jack interrupted. I know a cover-up when I see one. This wasn't human. The room went silent. Agent Peters sighed. We need to continue this conversation elsewhere, Mr. Winters. As they led him to their black SUV, Jack's mind raced. The enhancements from Project Achilles had been dormant for years, but he could feel them now, his body responding to the threat. Muscles tightening, senses sharpening, the soldier awakening. Someone had taken his daughter, human or not. They would regret it. The black SUV drove Jack to a small office building outside of town. The sign said Weather Research Center, but Jack knew better. This was a government front. Inside, they led him to a plain room with only a metal table and chairs. Jack sat and waited. His enhanced hearing picked up whispers from the next room. He was in Achilles. Confirmed. Christ. Level 6 clearance. Call the colonel. Jack smiled coldly. They knew who he was. Good. A door opened, and a tall woman in an Air Force uniform walked in. Colonel Patricia Gomes. Jack hadn't seen her in 8 years. Jack, she said, sitting across from him. I'm sorry about Lily. Cut the sympathy, Pat. Tell me what took my daughter. The colonel nodded to an agent who placed a file on the table. Inside were photos of strange ships with blue lights. We call them Craxians, she explained. First contact was 30 years ago. They're scientists, mostly. They study Earth life. Jack's hands tightened on the edge of the table, bending the metal slightly. They're taking children to study them. They don't see us as equals, Colonel Gomes said. To them, we're just smart animals. They take samples sometimes. Samples. Jack's voice was ice. My daughter is not a sample. Colonel Gomes looked tired. The government has a deal with them. Limited specimens in exchange for technology. It keeps them from taking more. Jack stood up so fast his chair flew backward. The agents reached for their guns. You're letting them take our children. His eyes burned with rage. Not Lily, Colonel Gomes said quickly. This wasn't approved. A rogue group of them did this. We're trying to make contact now. Jack leaned forward. Where are they? In orbit around Jupiter. But Jack, we can't just. How do I get there? Colonel Gomes laughed without humor. You don't. Even if we had a ship that could reach them, which we don't, they'd destroy it before you got close. Jack sat back down. You're lying. You have ships. Reverse engineered from their tech. The colonel's face showed he was right. I need 3 things, Jack said. A ship, a team, and everything you know about these Craxians. Impossible, Colonel Gomes said. The president would never approve a rescue mission. The risk of angering them is too great. Jack's eyes narrowed. Then I'll do it without approval. Colonel Gomes leaned forward. Jack, be reasonable. You haven't used your abilities in, 7 years? And even at your peak, you're just one man. I'm not alone. Jack pulled out his phone. Remember Diane Martinez? She works at NASA now. Frank Powell is with SETI. And Kyle Bennett flies test planes for the Air Force. Colonel Gomes paled. Your old team. My old team, Jack confirmed. All with reasons to hate these deals you've made. All with access to what I need. He stood up. You can help me or not, Pat. But I'm getting my daughter back. The colonel was silent for a long moment. Then she pulled a small drive from her pocket. This contains everything we know about the Craxians. Biology. Technology. Weaknesses. I never gave this to you. Jack took the drive. Thank you. Jack, she said as he turned to leave. What they did to you in Project Achilles, the enhancements, they have side effects after prolonged use. I know the risks. The human body isn't meant to. Lily is all I have, Jack interrupted. I don't care what it costs me. As he walked out, he felt the changes beginning. His vision sharpened. His hearing extended. Muscles coiled with power that had been dormant for years. Outside, Jack made 3 calls to old friends who owed him favors. Each call ended the same way. Someone took my daughter. I'm getting her back. Each friend had the same answer. I'm in. Millions of miles away, in a massive ship orbiting Jupiter, Lily Winters woke up in a small glass cell. Her head hurt. Her mouth was dry. Other cells lined the curved hallway, each holding a teenager from Lakeside. Lily stood on shaky legs and pressed against the glass. Kelly, Andy, is everyone okay? Some of her friends were awake and scared. Others still slept. A door slid open at the end of the hall. Lily's eyes widened as 3 tall figures entered. They weren't human. The aliens stood 7 feet tall with gray-blue skin. They had 4 arms and large black eyes. They wore no clothes, but their bodies were covered in strange symbols that glowed blue. The lead alien approached Lily's cell. It studied her like she was a bug in a jar. "This one is healthy," it said in perfect English. "Begin the tests." Lily backed away. "Who are you? Why are we here?" The alien tilted its head, surprised. "It speaks with intelligence. Interesting." "Of course I speak," Lily said. "We all do. We're human beings." "You are specimens," the alien corrected. "I am Chief Scientist Vexer. Your species is fascinating. So primitive, yet showing signs of basic intelligence." The glass door slid open. Two aliens grabbed Lily with their multiple arms. She fought, but they were too strong. "Don't hurt her," Kelly cried from another cell. Vexer studied Kelly. The specimens show concern for each other. Note this behavior. They took Lily to a white room with a metal table. Strange tools lined the walls. The aliens strapped her down. "Please," Lily begged. "We're not animals. We have families. My dad will look for me." "Your father is on Earth," Vexer said. "He cannot reach you here." The alien didn't know that Lily's father wasn't an ordinary man. Lily thought of her dad as the tests began. The pain was terrible. She screamed until her voice gave out. Back on Earth, Jack met his team at an old warehouse. Diane Martinez arrived first, bringing computer equipment in a van. Frank Powell came next with files and alien communication devices. Kyle Bennett was last, carrying maps of a secret base. "Thanks for coming," Jack said. "I know this is dangerous." "They took kids," Diane said simply. "We're in." Frank nodded. "What's the plan?" Jack unfolded a map on the table. "We need to get into NASA's Sector 7. They have a ship there built with alien tech." "I can get us access codes," Diane said. "But there's heavy security." "I'll handle security," Jack said. His eyes glowed slightly in the dim light. "What about weapons?" Kyle asked. "We can't fight aliens with normal guns." Jack opened a case. Inside were strange-looking weapons. "Colonel Gomes gave me these, reverse-engineered from Craxian technology." Frank whistled. "She's risking her career." "She has a daughter too," Jack said. They studied the information from Colonel Gomes's drive. The Craxians were strong, but had weak points. Their eyes were sensitive to bright light. Their skin couldn't handle extreme heat. "They think we're animals," Jack said. "They won't expect us to fight back." Diane looked at the data. "These ships are huge. How will we find Lily?" "The Craxians mark their test subjects," Jack explained. "And I can track her." "How?" Kyle asked. Jack touched his chest. "When Lily was born, I was afraid of enemies from my past. I had a tracker placed under her skin. It's connected to me." "You put a tracker in your baby?" Frank sounded shocked. "I did what I had to do to protect her," Jack said. "And now it will help us find her." They worked through the night, preparing for their mission. As dawn broke, they loaded their equipment into a van. "We move tonight," Jack said. "One way or another, we're getting those kids back." Frank looked at him closely. "Your eyes are different." "The enhancements are active again." Jack nodded. "I can feel it. Strength, speed, everything coming back." "You know what happens if you use them too much," Diane warned. "I know," Jack said, "but I don't have a choice. They took my daughter." The team looked at each other. They had all seen what Jack could do in the past. They had seen him tear through enemy lines like they were nothing. The Craxians had no idea what was coming for them. Night fell over the desert as Jack and his team approached NASA's Sector 7. The secret facility was hidden underground, protected by armed guards and high-tech security systems. "Security cameras are looping now," Diane said from her laptop in the van. "You have 10 minutes before they notice." Jack, Frank, and Kyle moved silently toward the fence. Jack's enhanced vision let him see clearly in the dark. He could hear the guards' heartbeats from 30 feet away. "Two guards at the east door," Jack whispered. 3 more inside. Can we avoid them? Kyle asked. Jack nodded. Follow me. They cut through the fence and moved between security patrols. Jack's movements were impossibly fast and silent. The others struggled to keep up. Inside the building, Jack led them down a service corridor. His body felt electric. Every sense was sharper. Every muscle was stronger. He had forgotten how powerful he felt when the enhancements were active. It's like you're not even human anymore, Frank whispered, watching Jack bend a steel door with his bare hands. I'm human enough, Jack replied. This way. They reached a large hangar. Inside sat what looked like a small space shuttle, but with strange technology attached to it. That's it, Kyle said. The prototype. They say it can reach Jupiter in 3 days. Can you fly it? Jack asked. Kyle grinned. I've studied the designs for years. I can fly it. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Someone found my hack, Diane said through their earpieces. You've got company coming. Armed security forces flooded the hangar. Jack pushed his friends behind cover. Get to the ship, he ordered. I'll handle this. Before they could stop him, Jack stepped into view. The guards aimed their weapons. On the ground now, one shouted. Jack didn't move. We're taking the ship. No one needs to get hurt. Final warning. Jack sighed. Then he moved. To the guards, he was just a blur. In seconds, 5 men were on the ground. Jack hadn't killed them, just knocked them out with precise strikes. More guards entered. Jack dodged bullets that seemed to move in slow motion to his enhanced vision. He disarmed the men without seriously hurting them. Jack, Kyle called. The ship is ready. Jack ran to the prototype and climbed inside. Kyle fired up the engines as more security forces entered the hangar. Diane, Jack called through the radio. I'm already heading to the rendezvous point, she answered. Meet you there. The ship rose from the floor. Guards fired at it, but the bullets bounced off the hull. Hang on, Kyle said, gripping the controls. This might get rough. The roof of the hangar opened. The ship shot upward into the night sky. On the Craxian vessel, Vexer was troubled. The human girl named Lily was different from other test subjects. She had survived experiments that would kill most humans. Her body healed faster than normal. Run more tests, he ordered his assistants. Find out why she's different. Lily lay on the table, her body bruised and cut from the experiments. But inside, she felt something strange. The pain seemed to fade faster than it should. She had always healed quickly from injuries, but now it was happening even faster. Something her father had once told her came back to her. You're special, Lily. Stronger than you know. She had thought he was just being a supportive dad. Now she wondered if he had meant something more. In a nearby cell, one of her friends wasn't doing well. Andy had been badly hurt in the Craxians tests. Lily could hear him crying. I need to help them, she thought. Dad will come for us, but I need to be strong until then. The aliens returned to take her for more tests. This time, Lily noticed something. They always touched the same spot on the wall before the door opened. A control panel. She memorized the location. If she could just get free for a moment. One of the aliens noticed her watching. This specimen is observant, it said. Increase security measures. Vexer nodded. Yes, there's something unusual about this one. He didn't know how unusual her father was, and he would soon find out. 3 days passed as the stolen ship raced through space. Jack spent most of his time looking at the small device that tracked Lily. The blinking dot was getting closer. How are you feeling? Diane asked, sitting next to him. She placed a hand on his arm, then pulled back in surprise. You're burning up. Jack nodded. Side effect of the enhancements. My body is changing more with each day. Is it permanent? No, but the more I use the abilities, the harder it is to turn them off. Jack looked at his hands. The veins glowed faintly blue under his skin. In Project Achilles, some men lost control, became something else. "That won't happen to you," Diane said firmly. The ship's alarm sounded. Kyle's voice came over the speaker. "We found them. Jupiter ahead, and the alien ship is in orbit." Jack and Diane rushed to the cockpit. Through the window, they saw the massive Craxian vessel. It was easily 100 times bigger than their small ship. "How do we get aboard without them seeing us?" Frank asked. Jack studied the alien ship. "There," he pointed, "waste disposal hatches. They won't be heavily guarded." Kyle steered their ship toward the back of the Craxian vessel. As they got closer, Jack felt a strange sensation in his chest. The tracker was pulling him stronger now. "She's alive," he said. "I can feel it." Lily had lost track of time in her cell. The aliens had tested her repeatedly, taking blood and tissue samples, but they seemed confused by her results. "The cellular structure is unusual," one alien told Vexer. "It's repairing itself faster than normal human rate." Vexer studied Lily through the glass. "Where did you come from, little animal? Why are you different?" Lily didn't answer. She had stopped talking to them days ago. Instead, she watched and learned. She knew the patterns of the guards now. She knew when the doors opened and closed. And she had discovered something else. Some of the cuts from their tests had healed overnight. That had never happened before. A sudden commotion came from down the hallway. Alarms blared throughout the ship. "Security breach in Sector 8, a voice announced. "Unknown vessel has attached to waste disposal hatch." Vexer looked alarmed. "Impossible. No Earth vessel could reach us here." The lights in the hallway flickered. The sound of fighting echoed from far away. Lily smiled for the first time in days. "My dad is here," she whispered. Jack, Diane, Frank, and Kyle moved through the alien ship's corridors. Jack led the way, following the tracker's signal. Any Craxians they encountered were quickly disabled by Jack's superhuman speed and strength. "The signal is getting stronger," Jack said. "She's close." They rounded a corner and found themselves in a long hallway lined with glass cells. Inside each cell was a teenager from Lakeside. "My God," Diane gasped. "They're all here." Jack scanned the cells frantically. Then he saw her. Lily. Lily pressed her hands against the glass. "Dad, you came." Before Jack could reach her cell, a door at the end of the hall opened. 5 armed Craxians entered, led by a larger alien with elaborate markings. "Intruders," the lead alien said. "How did Earth creatures reach us here?" Jack stepped forward. His eyes glowed blue now, and his muscles rippled with energy. The veins across his body pulsed with light. "My name is Jack Winters," he said. "You took my daughter." The alien seemed amused. "I am Chief Scientist Vexer. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us, human." "I don't need weapons," Jack said. Vexer gave a signal. The armed Craxians fired their strange guns. Beams of energy shot toward Jack and his team. Jack moved faster than human eyes could follow. He pushed his friends to safety, then dodged the beams himself. To the aliens, he seemed to vanish and reappear closer to them. "What is this?" Vexer stepped back in shock. Jack grabbed one of the alien weapons and crushed it in his hand. "You should have done your research," he said as he advanced on the terrified aliens. "You shouldn't have touched my daughter." Vexer backed away. For the first time, the alien scientist felt something new. Fear of a human. The Craxian guards fired again, but Jack moved like water between the energy beams. He reached the first guard and tore the weapon from its hands. With a quick strike, he sent the alien flying against the wall. "Impossible," Vexer said, backing away. "No human can move that fast." "I'm not a regular human," Jack said. His voice had changed, becoming deeper and echoing strangely. The blue glow under his skin was brighter now. "I'm what your people would call an enhanced specimen." 2 more guards rushed Jack. He caught them both by their throats and lifted them off the ground, as if they weighed nothing. "Frank, Diane," Jack called to his friends. "Get the kids out." Frank and Diane ran to the cell controls while Kyle stood guard with one of the alien weapons he had picked up. "You're in violation of our research," Vexer said, still trying to sound in control. "These specimens belong to us." Jack threw the guards aside and walked toward Vexer. "They aren't specimens. They're children, human beings." Vexer pulled out a small device. "Stay back. This will melt your insides." Jack didn't slow down. Vexer fired the device. A beam of red light hit Jack in the chest. He grunted in pain, but kept walking. "That's not possible," Vexer whispered. "That would kill any living creature." Jack grabbed the device and crushed it. "You should have studied humans better," he said. "We don't give up when our children are in danger." Behind them, Diane had figured out the cell controls. The glass doors slid open, and the teenagers rushed out. Lily ran straight to her father. "Dad." She threw her arms around him. "I knew you'd come." Jack hugged her tight, the blue glow from his skin fading slightly at her touch. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you?" "I'm healing," Lily said. "Like you do." Jack looked at his daughter in surprise. "You know, I figured it out here," Lily said. "The way I heal fast. That comes from you, doesn't it?" Before Jack could answer, an explosion rocked the ship. Alarms blared louder. "What is that?" Frank yelled. Vexer looked at a screen on the wall. "Defense systems. Our main ship has arrived." A voice came over the ship's speakers in the Craxian language. Vexer's face showed fear. "What are they saying?" Jack demanded, grabbing the alien. "It's Admiral Zexel," Vexer said. "The High Command discovered our unauthorized experiments. They're here to stop us. Your own people don't approve of what you're doing." Diane asked in surprise. "Testing on sentient beings is forbidden," Vexer admitted. "But I believe humans were just animals. Not like you." He looked at Jack with new understanding. Another explosion hit the ship. The lights flickered. "This vessel will be destroyed," Vexer said. "Admiral Zexel will cleanse the evidence of our violation. With all these kids still on board," Kyle shouted. "We need to get them out now." Jack looked around at the scared teenagers. Their small ship couldn't hold everyone. "There must be escape pods," he said to Vexer. "Where are they?" Vexer hesitated, then pointed down a corridor. 2 levels down, but they're designed for Craxian bodies, not humans. "They'll have to work," Jack said. He turned to his team. "Get the kids to the pods. I need to make sure the Admiral knows there are humans on board." "How will you do that?" Lily asked. Jack looked at Vexer. "He's going to help me send a message." Vexer trembled as Jack grabbed him by the arm. "Why would I help you?" Jack's eyes glowed brightly. "Because if these children die, nothing in the universe will stop me from finding your home world." The alien saw the truth in Jack's eyes. This human would tear apart stars to save his child. "I will help you," Vexer said quietly. Vexer led Jack to the ship's control room, while Diane, Frank, and Kyle guided the teenagers to the escape pods. The ship shook with each new hit from the Admiral's weapons. "Here," Vexer said, activating a large screen. "This communicates with the main ship." Jack stood before the screen. A stern-looking Craxian appeared. This one had silver markings instead of blue. "Admiral Zexel," Vexer said, bowing low. "I must inform you that there are human children aboard." The Admiral's large eyes narrowed. "You were ordered to cease all testing on sentient beings. The High Council will have you executed for this." Jack stepped forward. "My name is Jack Winters. I came to rescue my daughter and the other children your scientists took from Earth." Admiral Zexel studied Jack with surprise. "A human reached our ship." "Impossible." "Not impossible," Jack said. "Just difficult." The Admiral noticed Jack's glowing eyes and veins. "You are not a standard human." "No," Jack agreed. "I'm what we call a super soldier. Enhanced, like your people tried to do with my daughter." The ship rocked with another blast. Warning lights flashed everywhere. The children are heading for escape pods, Jack said. Please don't destroy them. Admiral Zexel was silent for a moment. We have detected the launch of small vessels. We will not fire upon them. He looked at Vexer. The High Council must know about this. A full report. Yes, Admiral, Vexer said. The humans showed intelligence and courage I did not expect. Especially this one. He pointed at Jack. He crossed space to save his offspring. The Admiral seemed thoughtful. Perhaps we have misjudged your species. The ship's computer announced. Critical system failure. Vessel will self-destruct in 3 minutes. I need to get to my daughter, Jack said. Vexer pointed to another door. This way leads directly to the remaining escape pod. As they ran through the corridors, parts of the ceiling began to collapse. Jack's enhanced strength allowed him to clear the path when needed. They reached the last escape pod where Lily was waiting. Dad, the others are away. Diane and the team took most of the kids in 2 pods. Jack looked at Vexer. Are they safe? Yes, the alien said. The pods will float until picked up by the Admiral's ship. 1 minute to self-destruct, the computer announced. Get in, Jack told Lily, pushing her toward the pod. What about you? She asked, grabbing his arm. Jack looked down at his body. The blue glow was intense now. His veins pulsed with unnatural light. I'm not sure what's happening to me, Lily. The enhancements have never been active this long. You're coming with me, Lily insisted. To everyone's surprise, Vexer spoke up. The pods have medical technology. It might help stabilize his condition. Jack nodded. Let's go. They climbed into the pod and launched just as explosions began tearing the ship apart. Through the small window, they watched the Craxian vessel break into pieces. Their pod floated in space for only minutes before a beam of light pulled them toward the Admiral's massive ship. Inside, they found Diane, Frank, Kyle, and all the teenagers safe. Admiral Zexel was waiting for them. Your friends explained everything, the Admiral said to Jack. The High Council will want to speak with you. About what? Jack asked. A proper agreement between our peoples. No more secret deals with corrupt officials. No more taking specimens. Jack looked at Lily, who was helping comfort the other teenagers. She's what our future could be. Enhanced humans who might someday join you among the stars as equals. Perhaps sooner than you think, the Admiral said. Our doctors examined your daughter. The changes in her are remarkable. And in you. He looked at Jack's glowing veins, even more so. Jack felt strange. The burning sensation was fading. What happens now? Now, Admiral Zexel said, we take you home. And then, if you wish, we talk about the future. As they traveled back to Earth, Jack held Lily close. His body slowly returned to normal as the enhancements went dormant again. But something had changed forever. Humans were no longer just specimens to the Craxians. They were equals, and they had earned it.